Welcome to another episode of the Cody's MMA Uncensored. Like I said, every Tuesday, I'm actually keeping on track this time. Alright, today is going to be a whole hell of a lot of stuff. I got two informal topics and then two special topics. I just thought it'd be, let's try to interact with people. Maybe people will start watching, I'm just saying. But two informal topics, two special topics, yet another two-part episode of the Cody's MMA Uncensored. So let's just get right to it. Our first topic of episode 8 of the Cody's MMA Uncensored. Alistar Overeem out of the Strikeforce Grand Prix. Yeah, I know. Disappointing. Absolutely disappointing. You barely, unless you watch all his fights in Japan, you barely get to see Alistar Overeem fight here in the U.S. And with his lackluster performance against Fabricio Werdum, which, to his credit, I blame more on Werdum's unwillingness to fight than Overeem's, lack of not trying, So, but Overeem is out of the tournament. He's not going to be in it. He has a toe injury. No comment. But Daniel Cormier is going to take his place. He just came off that victory over some dude that I don't remember because I'm getting old. And he fought somebody. And it was somebody. And he beat them pretty soundly. I just don't remember who that was. Oh well. But Daniel Cormier is going to step in and face Bigfoot Silva at the upcoming, at the Strikeforce after the Fedor versus Henderson Strikeforce, which I think is taking place in September. So, I don't think it's going to be as good of a fight as we could have seen between Overeem and Bigfoot Silva, but this is going to be a huge step up in competition for Daniel Cormier, and I think, I don't think he's going to win. I think Bigfoot Silva, is still riding that wave of momentum after beating Fedor Emelianenko, and I think he's going to come in there very confident, that he doesn't have to fight Alistar Overeem, and I expect him to beat Daniel Cormier pretty soundly. In fact, if he could just stop that takedown, he couldn't stop the takedowns from Werdum. So I'd like to see how he, corrected that mistake and see if he can stop the, Olympic wrestling of Daniel Cormier, So with that being said, I'm going to give you a little prediction here while we're on the topic. I think that the finals will be Bigfoot Silva versus, wait for it, Sergey Kharitonov. Yeah, the sexy pick would be Josh Barnett, obviously, but let's be real here. Josh Barnett is not a fighter. Josh Barnett is one of those guys, he uses his doughy belly, much like Roy Nelson, to his advantage. He's a big, fat guy, and he has wrestling skills, so he takes you down, he smothers you with his belly and his stench, and then you're just so shocked by this wave of marshmallow just laying on you that you give up a submission pretty easily. But I think Kharitonov, he is the dark horse in this whole tournament. I even would have picked him to beat Alistar Overeem. That should tell you something. I would have picked Sergey Kharitonov over Alistar Overeem had they have fought. I know everyone's like, no, Alistar Overeem's the best, he's going to be the UFC champ. I just think Kharitonov is a bad matchup for Overeem, but Barnett does scare me. But I do think Kharitonov can get the win, and it's going to be Silva versus Kharitonov. I'm not going to pick a winner in that fight until it actually happens, because I would be kind of back and forth on that one. So but sad news: Alistar Overeem out of the Strikeforce Grand Prix. And it was said, everyone's like, oh, now send him to the UFC. No, that's not going to happen. Dana White has said he is still under contract with Strikeforce, so he will still be fighting as Strikeforce's heavyweight champion. So, and it looks like that the winner is guaranteed a title shot, because since Overeem is out of it, there was rumors that if Overeem made it to the finals, he would defend his title in that final fight. So, you know, I don't like him seeing out of this tournament, but it does make the tournament a little bit interesting, to be honest, to see who will fight for his title next. But, yeah. Anyway, next topic. Our next topic here on the Cody's MMA Uncensored is Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 3 finally back on for a rapidly piling on UFC 136 card. This is what I mean. UFC 136 is getting a lot of fights lately, and from the looks of this card, even in the prelims, that this card is going to be a very stacked card. Along with Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, you also have Kenny Florian versus Jose Aldo for the featherweight title. You have the Chael Sonnen Brian Stann fight. You have Melvin Gillard versus Joe Lozon, which I think will be the fight of the night on that card. And you have the return of Anthony Pettis taking on Jeremy Stevens. So it's going to be a very, very interesting night of fights. And, you know, Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard, when the rematch was named, you know, earlier, I think it was earlier this year, and they fought to that draw. You know, we were all surprised because we thought it would be the most boring fight ever, because their first fight was not that exciting. The first fight consisted of Gray Maynard constantly getting a takedown on Frankie Edgar, but Frankie Edgar continuously scrambling back up. That was the entire fight. Go watch it. That was the entire fight. Takedown up, takedown up. Frankie Edgar barely mounted offense. Gray Maynard barely did anything on the top, but they went out and they beat the hell out of each other the first time. I think Frankie Edgar should have got the nod. I think Frankie Edgar, I mean, to be honest, you know, 10-8 rounds I think are overrated. I don't think there should be any such thing as a 10-8 unless you're really, 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 really getting your ass kicked. And yeah, in the beginning of the round, Frankie Edgar was getting his head knocked off, but you know, he fought back. You know, he got time to like catch his bearings, get up and fight back. I mean, did that deserve a 10-8? No, but I think that first round is what made that a draw, because I do think Frankie Edgar won 3 other rounds, and I do think Gray Maynard got another round in there, but that 10-8 round made it a draw. You know, who do I expect to win? I think it's a little hard. I thought Frankie Edgar would win the first one, but the way he got caught that fast in the previous fight kind of scares me. Can he get caught that fast again? And will Gray Maynard make the mistake of, you know, not being able to finish it? Was it really his mistake or Frankie Edgar's conditioning? People say Gray Maynard, you know, didn't really attack him because he was worried about not being able to finish him and wearing himself out. People say that it was Frankie Edgar's conditioning that kept him in the fight, but I don't know what it is. You know, it's just shit happens. And I also want to say something real fast about this fight card. Why is Kenny Florian getting another title shot? Kenny Florian has to be the most overrated title fighter ever. Like, he's a good fighter. You know, he ain't my favorite guy because he does like to do that, you know, running around shit like the Dominic Cruz thing, except not as well. He likes to do the shuffle. You know, he likes to move around too much. He likes to run. I mean, damn. But I don't. He does finish fights, so I'm not going to say he's not a fighter or he's not a good fighter. He is a good fighter, but Kenny Florian is overrated. I mean, in his last fight against Diego Nunes, he lost the first round. At least I think so. I mean, I don't know if anyone else agrees with that, but he lost that first round. And in my opinion, he won that fight based on conditioning. Diego Nunes wore himself out. He was already tired. He probably was, you know, he probably had a big adrenaline dump because, look at it this way, he's in the co-main event, and I don't know if it was his first or second fight in the UFC, but he was in the co-main event pretty fast against a big profile name. He was in there to launch Kenny Florian into the featherweight division. So he probably got a big adrenaline dump, but I think Kenny Florian won that fight based on conditioning only, not skills, because he did lose the first round. That is my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. My opinion matters, because I am the Cody. That's just how it rolls. But, yeah, Kenny Florian needs to stop with all the title shots. I mean, he fought Sean Sherk, lost pretty decisively. Fought BJ Penn, lost pretty decisively. I think the same exact thing will happen. Jose Aldo will outstrike him. He won't be able to take Jose Aldo down. So, you know, Mark Hominick was the biggest threat, and I said it 100 times before the fight happened. He is the biggest threat to Jose Aldo. There is no one else in that featherweight division that is a bigger threat. And Jose Aldo beat him. Did he beat him soundly? Not really. I think that fight can prompt a rematch. I don't think Kenny Florian has the same striking skills as Mark Hominick, and I don't think he has the same survival skills as Mark Hominick. I think if Kenny Florian gets caught with one of those knees or one of those punches, Kenny Florian is going to be done for. You know, I know he has a pretty good chin. You know, BJ Penn wasn't able to really hit him pretty square a few times, and he didn't fall, but I think Jose Aldo is a whole nother animal, and he's going to learn from his mistake in the fight against Mark Hominick, because he did wear out in that fight. And I expect him to go out there, blast Kenny Florian, and Kenny Florian is going to be 0-3 in title fights. I mean, seriously. I mean, Ken Flo just needs to go find another organization, because, I mean, like I said, he's a good fighter. I would pick him to beat, I don't know, like a George Roop or a Josh Crispy. I would pick Kenny Florian in that fight. But, I mean, Kenny Florian is, I wouldn't call him a gatekeeper. He's a little bit better than that. But I think he's like a test measure. He measures how good you are. If you're good, if you can beat him, you're not quite over the hump if you can't beat him. You know what? I don't know where I'm getting at. I suck at this kind of thing. But, yeah, I don't know. I think Jose Aldo will beat Kenny Florian. But anyway, going back to the fight card itself, it's going to be a stacked card. I love the fight with Anthony Pettis, Jeremy Stephens. That's going to be an awesome fight. I hope my boy Anthony Pettis can freaking beat him. I love Jeremy Stephens though. He's a great, exciting fighter. But I want Anthony Pettis to get back on that ladder, because I think he deserved another title shot, and he got screwed out of it by the lay and pray homo hug Clay Guida. And Melvin Guillard, Joe Lozon, that is an awesome fight. A bad fight for Melvin Guillard to take. My boy, man, I love Melvin Guillard. I loved him on Ultimate Fighter 2. Still love him. Didn't think he would get this far, but he is one win away, man. One win away from getting that title shot. And I thought he was going to wait around, let Benson Henderson and Jim Miller fight, see who will win that fight, and then fight them. But I don't know, man. He decided to take on a very dangerous opponent. However, I do think Melvin Guillard can beat Joe Lozon. You know, Joe Lozon ain't the same Joe Lozon of old. He's kind of had lackluster performances ever since his loss to Kenny Florian. You know, back at Ultimate Fight Night, I believe it was 12. He has not fought the same. He hasn't fought with the same intensity and anger. I mean, he gave up that fight to George Sotiropoulos. Everyone saw it. That first round, George Sotiropoulos couldn't do shit. But then that second round comes around, and it's like, where the fuck did Joe Lozon go? He left the building. Him and his brother trade places. We just didn't know it. I mean, damn. But dangerous opponent, I think, for Melvin, but I think Melvin will do fine. So, UFC 136 is going to be very, very stacked. I can't wait to see it. Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, I hope they give us the same fight they did last time. I hope it doesn't result to homo hugging-a-thon. You know, Kenny Florian going to be 0-3 in title fights. And, yeah, and Chael Sonn's going to get his faggot ass kicked. Okay, awesome. All right, next.